So today I got a private tour of a VR lab here, and it was really cool because I enjoy surrounding myself with people who are like industry experts, the nerds, the people that are like deep in it, because I find that you can just get a way deeper dive and a lot of context from that type of experience then, instead of like reading it in a book or whatever. But my reason for recording this now is it's fresh in my mind. It's amazing. The word that comes to my mind is it's marvelous and ridiculous at the same time, where the metaverse and virtual reality is headed. Mixed reality, augmented reality, all these buzzwords. And I'm not going to get technical into it, except I'll just share a story of what I found was fascinating to me. So there are companies, one is Minecraft, one is Roblox. I don't know what the actual company is behind Minecraft, but they're these games that kids play. And they make, they have millions and millions of active monthly users, 10, 20 million. I think Roblox has 200 million kids that play this thing every single month. And, I call this podcast Purpose in Reality because we got to look at this is the reality that we're facing is these phenomena, such as these metaverse spaces where people can hang out, it's not going to go away. And it's easy to then just shut down because you don't understand it, but that's a cop-out. So I'm making this because I want to share how I see us making sense of this and then using it to actually create a better world. I had a moment where I was getting a tour of this metaverse space, and it was a museum of sorts that was built. It was a customized museum built for the city of Minneapolis, and you could walk around it in the metaverse. And it was interesting because then the bigger implication was you can host an event here, and you can have everyone sign in, actually easier than you can sign into Zoom. And you could all have an event here with your own little avatar, and you're hanging out in the metaverse. And I kind of used to joke about this, and first time I heard about the metaverse, I thought about this. I was that'd be kind of funny if you could have a Zoom meeting, or with the Self-Perfected group, we do the Hangouts on Zoom right now. But imagine if everyone was hanging out in a room, right? And there's a waterfall in the background, and you're in a castle, and you can you switch your avatar to be a dragon or whatever. It's it'd be kind of funny. But it'd also be distracting. But it's also a big mind trip because it's a way of people attempting to express themselves. But it's a weird derivative of self-expression. Because real self-expression is just, it's a living act of who you are in any given moment. Real expression is you here deciding what you're going to do, who you're going to be, how you're going to interact and participate in this world that we are part of. That's real self-expression. And so in the metaverse, it's these deep philosophical questions of if you're in the metaverse and you're dressed up as a kangaroo or whatever, and you're in a meeting with someone and talking to them about things like this. Yes, you can still express yourself. However, there's all these it's a giant shiny object thing. So it's really wild because this is so cutting edge. I realize what I'm talking about, the vast majority of people don't have the vocabulary or the understanding or even the desire to understand this and make sense of it. But I'm making this because it needs to be documented. This is me in the journey of uncovering how do we actually unite the right people so that we can direct these things and these different forces and these systems, such as the metaverse, VR, AR, the economies, politics, all this, the laws that go into this. How do we direct it like we're directing a ship, to stay on track to make the world be the best it can be, instead of turning into some weird Matrix type thing? And, I don't want to get too lost in the big picture philosophical stuff, but it's important to think about, because sometimes the most profound things that I have that are those moments of change, those moments of insight where you create new context or new understanding of the world, sometimes it's from looking at the big picture stuff. So I'm going to kind of jump around in this, but again, I just want to share what I see, build some context, so that as metaverse type things become more mainstream, you can see it and use it and direct yourself within it, so you don't lose yourself in it. So you can use it as an extension of you rather than it using you. Because very easily, if you haven't watched The Matrix in the past 6 months, watch it, but watch it with subtitles. There's so many good one-liners in there. But literally, they're bodies in a vat of freaking soup that keeps you alive. And then you got your whatever, it's hooked up to your face and shit. It's becoming very normalized. And the guy that I was meeting with, he's really cool. And we're chatting about education, chatting about how we can use both virtual spaces and in-person spaces and different groups to be part of and everything. Again, I love just talking to experts in this. But the vocabulary he was using was so just normalized. He's when people got their wearables, got their implants, whatever, literally referring to people having chips implanted into their brain. and we were joking about it, but he's yeah, I got some chips here, if you want any. What? And it was kind of joking, but and then he was showing me too. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump around, just freaking enjoy it. Okay, so he was showing me a sweatshirt that was made by Nike. There's only 1,000 of these that exist, and in it is embedded a NFT, a chip that is associated with an NFT. And he opened Snapchat with it, and it's called the Nike Artifact or something like that. And it's kind of a cool design on the back, and it kind of looks like a QR code, but it's artistic, and it's got some design. I forgot even what it was, but you open up Snapchat, you then do the QR code thing where you click it, and then it shows these robotic angel wings that pop off of it. And it's oh, okay, kind of unique, whatever. But here's the thing. There are people who want that so bad because it gives them their significance, right? It's a term for it would be their digital self-expression. It's not real self-expression, but it's a digital self-expression where they care more actually about the metaverse modification to it than the real world sweatshirt. So they, especially kids, he's telling me in these games like Roblox and whatever the other one's called, Minecraft, whatever, we're spending collectively, well, it's really parents of these kids, are spending collectively billions and billions of dollars every year on these skins. So imagine, right, for anyone where this doesn't make sense, imagine you ever play Sims back in the day, SimCity, whatever, I'm dating myself, but it's these games where you have your character, you're walking around, whatever, but you want to have a specific shirt, or let's say you have a sword or whatever, but you want to have the shiny green sword instead of the shiny silver sword. That's the normal one you come with, right? So it's a way to show your value and your status in this game. And you get the status by paying for it with real world money. And so there are kids now who would care more about what it's called a skin, what skins they have in these games than in the real world. And I'm okay, I could kind of see that. I remember being a kid and, you play Halo online or whatever, and it's you want to have the cool, things, whatever. Because, again, it's status driven. And you feel special and you get energy from it. Your mind is actually what's getting energy from it, which is a whole other topic, but it's all interwoven throughout this anyway. So now there's a divide that's starting to happen between the older people, obviously the boomers and everything, but even, I'm a millennial, like us, and then these kids that are 10, where their parents just have no real rules or boundaries on the metaverse stuff, so the kids are just kind of able to do it as much as they want. Maybe the parents don't know how to direct it, whatever. There's a lot of factors at play, but either way, there are millions and millions and millions of these kids every single day doing this. Now, what does this mean is, sure, if there's some use cases for being in the metaverse, and could be kind of cool, right? We could hang out tomorrow and go play golf on, the streets of Paris, and that could be like a thing, right? And you could take, people that don't have the space and time to come together physically, and you could have a metaverse type experience like that. Okay, I guess, sure, there could be some value in that for the sake of hanging out, talking with each other, catching up, whatever. It literally all comes back to your starting point. So, as I'm looking at this stuff, it's the rate of acceleration is really wild, because in the past, the dopamine cycle, the consumer cycle, all of that, of like, you see a video game you want, you got to go to the store, you got to buy it, you got to come home, you got to install it, and then you can play it, whatever. It was like a slower time. Now it's like instantly you can download the app, you can download the game, you play it right away, and it's that immersive where you go from like your dopamine system, your serotonin system, there's so much about the body we still don't even know. And for these kids where their brains are still developing, that is literally happening like all together now, like rapidly. Like the cycle in which that's happening and the pace is like really insane. And if we're not careful, again, it's like we're going in a hypercar and we don't even know what we're doing. We're just waking up to the fact that we're in a hypercar and it's going freaking 80 miles an hour, and there's a lot of obstacles that we could run into. So, who are you within this? When you hear words such as, I don't know, skins or NFT or blockchain or whatever, do you let yourself go into the shutdown mode? Because there's something called a non sequitur. If you don't know what that is, it's a very important word to be aware of. And it's where experts, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, will use words that you don't know. So here's what's really fascinating, and this will help be a thread that brings all this together, is when a human being does not have a word within them, their brain shuts down, and for a split second, they separate themselves from reality. For example, if we were to talk about your favorite topic in the world that you love, right? Let's say you're really, like, you're a foodie, and we start talking about different types of pastas and different dishes. You will be immersed, and you can, like, in that moment, you're one with that experience. You're talking about pastas, you're talking about, types of pasta. You're there, and who you are is your expression. Also, your mind, everything is like engaged. Whereas if I were to start speaking in Chinese right now, you would just shut down. So there's a different part of you that is, it's like you're still here, but you're not here. Let me explain. You, as who you are, have this ability to influence reality, direct reality, engage with reality, stand equal to reality. However, if you don't know the words that you're interacting with, not just the spoken words, but even like the words of the situation, like if it's a tense situation, do you have the vocabulary, the words, the understanding, the context to process that? Because if not, guess what happens? You just shut down. You go into your own little world. It's like, remember being in school and it was a class you didn't understand, maybe it was math class or whatever, or science class, and you were just zoning out in your own little world? Compared to, again, let's say it's your favorite topic, food or sports or whatever. You're like engaging with your environment. In which situation are you more powerful? In which situation do you have more of a cause of your reality? Obviously, it's the one where you have the words, the understanding, the comprehension, the processing. So, when you hear this, and I'm talking about metaverse and all this stuff, if you don't have these words as part of you, on some level, you can muster some willpower and get through it in any way, and you can find a reason to listen and all that, and you can write this down and all that. But we're accelerating our rate of words that are being created to explain the technology and the disruption. I'm going to say that again. The rate in which technology is disrupting things and the amount of new words that are needing to be created to make sense of this is increasing exponentially. Therefore, if you want to have any sense of influence on your reality and our collective reality, and you want to direct reality and have control over reality and make reality better, but if you're not exponentially increasing the words that you have to make sense of it, without that, it's just not going to work. So, again, I know I'm speaking to 1% of the population right now, but over time, this will be more normalized, what I'm saying. The power of words, of reading, of articulation, of expressing yourself, of vocabulary, of your understanding of the world, it all really boils down to words. It's symbols, technically, is what it is. And so the decision that we're all facing is either we're going to take on reality, integrate ourselves, integrate the words, learn, grow, and live the words that will create a better reality, or we're not gonna. Now, I know which one I'm gonna do, and I know which one the people that I work with is gonna do. But for you listening to this, and even for you, those of you who are listening to this and you have made the decision of look, I am going to direct this reality and I'm going to understand this reality. And you realize that words are the operating system of reality. There are still other people out there who have not comprehended that. That is really our decision point that we got to face collectively. Is who are we going to become? Because right now, the average person is not in touch with reality. And they are really at effect. And so now this big shiny object, Metaverse, AI, all this stuff comes along, but you don't have the internal operating system to handle this new external influence in the collective operating system, which is our reality, our agreements and everything. And so as we navigate every day through our lives, there will be people who will choose to abdicate responsibility. However, we only need a percentage of the population to accept and absorb that responsibility. And what is that responsibility specifically? It is to learn, integrate, understand the words, and live the words, and direct the words, or the things in our reality. Because everything can be broken down into a word. And when you have that as part of you automatically in your operating system, which, again, the way to do this, if you've listened to any of the other stuff I put out, the way to do that is Technotutor. It's the only way to actually substantially build your vocabulary and to do it at the pace required for the task at hand. I was the guy who literally made flashcards and read the dictionary. None of it stuck. Then I used Technotutor and it all stuck. So that's the essential piece here for us to be able to make sense, common sense, out of all these new emerging technologies. Now, do I expect this podcast to convince someone of that? No. I'm just giving context for people that want to listen to this. But now you're going to see how the rate in which things are growing and expanding is actually creating a situation that is ripe for disruption, where parents are scared for their kids because they're seeing their kids, like their influence that they have compared to the influence that Roblox has. It's like one of them's way more powerful, let's say, right now. Because one of them hacks the dopamine. The other one doesn't know how to hack the dopamine. But what does this mean for you who can hear this? Is we got to get really freaking good at hacking the dopamine, hacking the attention. Really good at talking to people, creating spaces that people want to come to. Because now you're not just competing against TV, 2D TV. You're competing against 3D spatial alternative universes. So you just got to get better. How cool is that? Now, every day, for example, I use TechnoTutor to, one, build my general vocabulary, how I process reality, but also I use it to program myself to be able to handle the responsibility that I need to take on. And it's amazing because now I can stand there with someone who is explaining to me very high level concepts about virtual reality and how the Apple Vision Pro works, and it, takes a video stream, so you're not actually seeing the actual thing. It's like video streaming and then projecting it again to your eyes. I'm like, wow, like the whole time I'm just comprehending what he's saying. Like, that's really cool. And then I'm able to apply it. So back to what I was saying earlier about when you don't have the words and your brain shuts down, there's really fascinating way of looking at this is if they map your brain and your brain states when you're reading, and you're reading through a sentence, and you don't know a word, like an automatic, like a knowingness of the word, like instant knowingness, you know it, you know the sound, spelling, everything. If you have all the words integrated, your brain state stays basically at a certain level, which lays the foundation, so now you can build further comprehension. Like, think, again, if you love food and you're obsessed with pasta and you know a bunch about pasta, we could have a high-level conversation about how to make pasta and bake it and do different dishes with it and all that stuff, and you could be listening to that conversation, and then, without even thinking about it, your mind's automatically going to the next level of like, oh, wow, and then we could sell that over here, or, oh, I could take that pasta and I could try it like this, or, fuse it with a different culture dish or whatever. It's like you will automatically be able to build on that platform. Now, if you don't have that word integrated, a certain word in there, a non sequitur is in there, a word you don't know, instead of your mind now having that really awesome comprehension experience, you actually then just shut down and you miss the whole comprehension thing. So again, that's why I preface this whole thing with, I realize there's like 1% of the population that is going to comprehend this right now at this point in 2023 when I'm making this. But at some point, it will be more. And it will be more and more and more. And at some point, this will be average comprehension. Because we will get the vocabulary to everybody that wants it. So, for you, the decision is really, are you going to let the lack of information processing ability that you have, that we all have, to slow you down, and then you get sidetracked, and then all of a sudden you're scrolling Facebook because you got hijacked by the machine? Or in those moments when you do notice yourself shut down, remember, take a breath, direct yourself, breathe, figure out the word. For those of you who have TechnoTutor, obviously, then use it. For those of you who don't have TechnoTutor, I would be surprised if you're still keeping up, but reach out to me about it because it's essential. If you want to have any sort of influence in your reality, it's essential for you and for those around you, because there will be words that you don't know and you didn't learn them in your first 7 years, so they're not integrated properly. So as we face this new rise in disruption, learn about AI, VR, etc., all of these new words are going to come online and they're going to be out there. like spatial computing. I learned about spatial computing today. That's another way of saying metaverse. And when you can bring that in and you have your basic vocabulary and your intention and your starting point behind your words and your actions to create a reality that's best for everybody instead of a not best reality, a reality of lack and inequality. It's like when you have that intention and you live it in conjunction with being able to learn at a hyper pace, you will become a world leader. But here's the key point. You're not doing it to become a world leader. You're doing it because you see the common sense that we need transition leaders. Transition leaders who can be on the front lines, bring communities together, bring people together, talk to people, share this with people, basically create the new 1% so that we can influence where the whole ship is headed. That is the real task at hand. So, my suggestion for you is go find people in your community. Go find people locally. I bet there's certain meetups around you. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, real estate, business, finance, venture capital, all that. Go surround yourself with people who have deeper domain expertise. And assemble the people. We're going to do this and achieve the purpose with the most unlikely bunch of people. I got people in my network who have backgrounds in working in private family offices and hanging out with billionaires. And I got people in my network who they're first generation immigrant and, did not come from an elite background. And everyone in between. But the uniting point is realizing we all live in a shared reality. There's a quote by Heraclitus. I've said this before. I will say it many more times. You'd think I should have put it through my Technotutor, so I just have it in there. Clearly haven't. But it's basically, to the dreamer, everyone has their own reality. To the one who is awake, they realize we share one reality. Meaning, no matter how cool your metaverse goggles are and your VR reality, at the end of the day, you still got a body. You still got to breathe. You still need food. You still got to take care of your physical body. We do share one collective reality. And so, what is your purpose within that? It's either you're going to be part of the team that directs the system to make it the best it can possibly be for everybody, and you don't make an excuse, or you get sucked into the metaverse. But then, in the moment, at the end of your life, and you ask yourself, wow, who was I? We could have made this reality actually awesome. Because right now, as much as it's like, oh, cool, metaverse, VR, yeah, wow. It's like, I was talking about this with the guy again that I was just meeting with. It's like on the same day, you hear the OpenAI founders, whatever, CEO, testifying before Congress about what they're doing. And then in the next news clip, there's still war going on. And it's like, again, in that moment, you can then shut down and go, oh, well, does not compute. Whatever, someone else will figure it out. Or in that moment, you breathe and you go, yeah, and we're going to freaking figure it out. We're going to figure it out. And it comes from grassroots, meeting people around you locally, connecting with people, getting involved with Technotutor, getting involved with Self-Perfected, because that is the principle of this group. That is what the group stands for. What is best for all. Operating from principle, no leader. It's a group of individuals accumulating more and more and more individuals working together, 1 + 1. That's how we change it. It ain't coming from a top-down solution. It ain't gonna come from us all plugging into the metaverse. Now, could we have a cool hangout in the metaverse where we talk about this stuff? Sure. But you probably get distracted from it and it would just unnecessarily jack up your dopamine. Zoom will work for now. But really, it's like learning to direct yourself to go and meet those people. Because there was one night, how I actually met this guy. I had a long day. I had like 3 meetings. I was out. And then I had heard about this blockchain meetup. I was like, I don't really want to go to the blockchain meetup. And in that moment, as soon as that thought came up, I was like, yep, that's why I'm going to go. To just condition myself, always do the thing. Do the thing you got to do. Don't let your feelings or emotions get in the way, right? This was a while ago. And he was one of the guys facilitating the panel, and he owns the building. And I met him again at another event. And he's like, oh, that's so cool, like what you're doing with education. You know, he's got kids, everything. So I was like, yeah, let's actually properly connect further. And he invited me for a tour of his space. I did that because I didn't listen to the little voice in my head going, oh, just stay home. You know, so easy to just want to stay home. Just take the easy way out. But it's on us to roll up our sleeves. And guess what? It's way more fulfilling that way anyway. You actually hit real fulfillment. So, who will you become? I know who I'm going to become. And I'm excited for the world we're creating. And I'm excited to see what you contribute to it. And I'm excited for someday, for those of you who are dedicated, you can come hang out with us here. You can come to one of our events at our homestead. You can learn about sustainable living. You can learn how to make not just a lot of money, but a real impact. You can literally change people's lives forever. It's not really you changing their lives. It's you giving people access to tools so they can change their own lives. And again, that's why it's going to work. Because it's not a outsider influence. Like, yes, it's an influence, but it's a self-directed point. So those who can see it become a transition leader, so we can be the transition team to go from a world where we have leaders in a top-down hierarchy where the incentives are all messed up to changing the system and ensuring that our kids and our grandkids have a world where they can actually really create. Because everyone has the vocabulary and the ability to see each other as equals. Common sense. Now let's make it real.